Hi everyone, it's Wezi here. So, have you been thinking of applying for a scholarship and then you have been asking yourself these questions to say, how can I find scholarships? Where can I find scholarships? How does this whole scholarships thing work? And whatever other question that you have asked yourself. Today, I want to cover how scholarships work or answer your questions or any other questions apart from these questions. So today I just want to talk about how scholarships work. So the main reason why I'm doing this video is because I've realized that sometimes people just don't know how to navigate or how to go about the whole scholarship thing, and then they don't get the scholarships. So I thought I'd just kind of like, you know what, let me cover this up. I remember I was talking to a certain lady 2 weeks ago. She was talking about like, oh, you know what, I want to apply for scholarships and everything. And I asked her, so how do you go about it? Like, tell me. So she said, oh, I followed a certain page on Facebook, and then that's it. I just kind of like follow whatever they say. I was like, okay, is it all? I was like, you know what? Yes, that's one of the ways to go about it, but there are also different ways of how you can be able to go about it. So that's what I'm about to do in this video. So in this video, I want to talk about how scholarships work or how you can be able to find a scholarship. Now, a quick disclaimer here to say this video is not exhaustive, covering everything to do with scholarships, but at least it covers maybe 80% of the information to do with scholarships. So yeah, in case you come here and try to hang me and say, oh, you didn't talk about this, you didn't talk about this, I've said the disclaimer here. Now, this video will be broken down into different um, sections or categories. So firstly, we'll talk about a definition, like what does a scholarship mean? We will secondly talk about the misconceptions that people do have to do with scholarships, and then we'll talk about the truth behind scholarships, and then we'll talk about how scholarships work, and we'll talk about the types of scholarships that you can be able to find. Now, how to look for these scholarships, be it online or just how you can be able to look for these scholarships. I'll talk about the tips on how you can be able to increase your chances of being selected for a scholarship. And then I'll show you an example of an essay that I wrote when I was applying for a scholarship. If you want more to do with that, maybe you can DM me directly and then you can be able to talk. Finally, I'll talk about some of the mistakes that you can avoid if you are looking for a scholarship or if you want to apply for a scholarship. So I think I've talked a lot. Without further ado, let's get into the video. So the first thing is, what is a scholarship? Now, as you already know, on this channel, we always try to simplify things. So I'll say the simplest definition of a scholarship. It simply means getting funding for your studies. As simple as that. You're getting someone to fund your studies or to pay for your studies, right? So it comes in different types. I think, as I said, I'll talk about the types in the next few minutes, but that can mean someone funding your tuition fees. That can mean someone funding your accommodation fees or any other fees related to school. So simply, that's what a scholarship is all about. Now, let me talk about some of the misconceptions about scholarships. I realized that I had to cover this because sometimes we do have misconceptions about something. So the first misconception that I'm trying to, should I say debunk or I don't know. I don't know how you can say you are trying to reverse a misconception, but so the first misconception, which I believe is always there for scholarships, is that I will be given a scholarship because I don't have money. Now, as I said, a scholarship is all about funding your studies, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have money to fund your studies. I'll give you an example. So let's give an example. There is applicant A and applicant B. So applicant B is someone who can be able to fund their studies, they have the money, and applicant A is someone who can be able to fund their studies, they don't have money. Now, all of these apply for one scholarship, and then the results say applicant B gets the scholarship, and applicant A, who doesn't have the money, doesn't get the scholarship. Why? I mean, unfair, right? You'd say that, but let me be honest to say, scholarships are not only given on the basis of you lacking finances or you lacking money. There are other factors that are also considered. So you may find that the applicant B, who has the money, applied and considered any other factors, but applicant A, who doesn't have the money, and arguably, if we are trying to be fair, applicant A, who doesn't have the money, is supposed to get the scholarship, but they don't get the scholarship. I mean, but that's how these things work. That's the first misconception that I have to say. It's not always I don't have money, so I'll be given a scholarship. You cannot have money and you cannot be given a scholarship. Unfair, right? But that's how it works. Secondly, the second misconception that people do have is, oh, I come from a poor country. Let me just give an example. I come from Malawi. And they'll be like, oh, maybe they'll feel sorry for me because I'm coming from a poor country. No. So scholarships, I should say most of them, or 100% of the scholarships, are given on a merit basis. So they care less about where you come from. As long as you are eligible, you are matching the requirements, then you stand the chances of being given a scholarship. So it's not only on the basis of I come from a poor country, or so I won't be given a scholarship. The third misconception that I want to talk about is, oh, I don't have connections. Oh, I don't know anyone else, so I don't think I'll be given a scholarship. I understand that we're kind of like used to say, oh, you need to have connections, you need to know someone, then you'll be given a scholarship. But sometimes you don't need to have connections or know someone. You can just apply for a scholarship and you can be given. So another misconception that I want to talk about is this one, to say it is very difficult for you to apply for a scholarship. Imagine they want you to write 2 essays or 3 essays or 5 essays. Well, that's the only way you can go through it. I mean, you have to apply for the essays. So the moment you say, oh, it is very hard, I mean, you kind of like try to stop yourself in some sense. So the idea is, don't try to stop yourself. Now, I've talked about the misconceptions to do with scholarships. Let me talk about the truth about scholarships. Now, I'll mention 4 things. Now, the first one is scholarships are competitive, and you should take it as that. It is very competitive. It's not you're not the only person applying for a scholarship. And most of the times, you should understand that sometimes it can be within a region. You can say, let's say, sub-Saharan Africa. So it means all the countries within that region will apply for the scholarship. So you're not the only one applying for a scholarship. So firstly, know that scholarships are very competitive. Secondly, know that you don't need connections, or you don't need to know anyone else at the scholarship body or board for you to be given a scholarship. So the third truth that I'll talk about is scholarships are given on merit basis. I think I talked about this when I was talking about the misconceptions. So the fourth and the last one on the truth of scholarships is that scholarships are not hard to apply for. The idea is you just have to change your mindset and say, you know what, I have to apply for this scholarship. If I have to write 3 essays, I'll have to write 3 essays and apply. So that's it. All right, yeah. So now that we've talked about the definition, we've talked about the misconceptions, and we've talked about the truth about scholarships, I want to talk about the types of scholarships. So in this video, I'll just cover 2 types. So we have the partial scholarship and the fully funded scholarship. So as the name suggests, I mean, you can be able to tell. So I'll cover each separately. Now, the first one is partial. So this one, you are only given partial scholarship. So this one, you can either be given 50%, 75%, 25%, or maybe they can only take out some money off your tuition fees. And mostly, one thing that I've noted about partial scholarships is that you are given on the tuition fees. Now, they don't cover accommodation, they don't cover subsistence, like how you survive. No, they don't cover that. Mostly, they cover the tuition fees. So if your fees is, let's say, £15,000, they'll say we'll give you 50%. That means you take out £7,500. Then the rest you'll be able to cover it yourself. So as you can tell, with a partial scholarship, you'll be able to cover the part. You'll be able to cover the remaining part of the tuition fees, and you'll be able to cover your accommodation. You'll be able to cover everything else, but they'll just give you a partial scholarship. Now, I'll be honest to say these ones are less competitive because mostly these ones are given by universities. So let's say I'll give you an example. I applied at Nottingham Trent University and I was given 50% scholarship. So that simply means it was me and some other people that applied to university, to the Nottingham Trent University, that were competing for this scholarship. So it's kind of like less competitive compared to the other one. So that's it about the partial scholarship. Now, the other scholarship is to do with the fully funded scholarship. As the name says, you are fully funded. You are given the tuition fees. You are given the accommodation fees. You're given a stipend to survive on a monthly basis. It covers everything. The only thing that you have to do is come and do your studies. So this one is, which one is, and this one is a good one. And I'll be honest to say, this one is very competitive, and mostly it is given by boards. So it can be Chevening, it can be Commonwealth, it can be Bed Trust, and different any other boards. So, but this one is very competitive because as I said about the partial one, It can only be, let's say, a few people that applied to a certain university that are eligible to apply for the scholarship. But for the fully funded ones, you can find that people that applied in 10 different universities, they're all vying for that fully funded scholarship. So it is very competitive. And if you're looking for this scholarship, I would say just know that it is very competitive and you really have to put your best foot forward. All right, yeah. So let me talk about how scholarships work now that we've talked about the types and everything. And this is the most important part of the video. If you have missed anything else, I want you to get this. For most of the scholarships, you need to have an offer from a university first before you apply for a scholarship. I'll say it again. You need to have an offer first before you apply for a scholarship, and then you can apply for the scholarship. I'll say it again to say you need to have an offer first, and then you can be able to apply for a scholarship. I've realized that sometimes people just go and start applying for a scholarship before they have an offer. Now, the question is, what would they be funding, or what would they be funding? That's a simple question to say. You're going to someone. Let me give you a simple example in business. So if you want to get funding, let's say you're looking for investors, likely you can't just go to someone and say, I have a business and I want you um, to fund me. Likely they ask you this question, what business? Now, if you say, oh no, I don't know, just give me the money and then I'll find a business, likely they won't fund you. The wise investors, they won't fund you because the idea is they want to know the return on investment, they want to know all these other things, and then they can be able to fund you. The same applies to scholarships. You can't just go to a scholarship board and say, I want you to fund my studies. Now they'll be like, oh, okay, cool. What course are you going to study? You'll be like, I don't know, but I want you to fund my studies. They'll be like, at least you should have an idea of what you want to study, and then we'll be able to fund you, right? So this is the most important thing. Make sure that when you are trying to apply for a scholarship, be it a university one or either from scholarship boards like Chevening or BET or any other scholarship, make sure that you already have an offer, and then you can be able to apply for a scholarship. Because if you don't have an offer, then it will be difficult for them to even think of funding you, right? So I just wanted to make this clear to say this is how it works. You get the offer first. After you get the offer, then you can work towards getting a scholarship. So I just wanted to set this clear because sometimes, I mean, people do miss it. All right. So let's talk about how you can be able to find scholarships. Now, let's be honest to say, thanks to the internet at the tip of your fingers, you can just Google and you'll be able to find things. Now, but I just want to talk about practical things on how you can be able to get these scholarships. Now, the first one is make sure you subscribe to scholarship boards for you to get their newsletters. So this will be much better because you'll be able to get official information and you'll be able to know the dates when the scholarships are coming out. You'll be able to know the requirements. Sometimes they can send you that in advance. So it's really good for you to kind of like just have to have official information. The second one is to follow uh, pages that share scholarships, like myself. You can follow me if you haven't followed me yet. So whenever I come across scholarships, I do share on my social media platforms. I don't share them here on YouTube, but you can follow me on Facebook, LinkedIn, as well as Twitter. I do share. But you can also follow any other pages on social media platforms. There are many of them that share scholarship information. And then the last one, which is also the most important one, if you're looking for scholarships from universities, make sure you search them on the websites of these universities. Because where else can you find a scholarship that is being given by Nottingham Trent University? You find it online. So this is the most important one. If you're looking for partial scholarships or even 100%, because I know there are other people that have been able to get 100% scholarships from universities, right? So if you're looking for scholarships, make sure you check on specific pages or on specific websites of universities, right? So that's it. So now let me talk about tips for you to craft a winning application. Now, if you haven't watched one of the videos that I did, I already talked about this, but I'll just kind of like run through. So the first one, if you are still in school, make sure you involve yourself with extracurricular activities, like maybe involving yourself in societies, in clubs, and any other extracurricular activities, even sports. So these ones do help when you're crafting your essays because you have a little more to say instead of just saying, oh, I got good grades, which brings us to the next point. Make sure you have good grades. This one is really good. So I wouldn't say it's the only thing that you should get a distinction or a credit. Now, I know people that got passes and they've been given scholarships, but I'm simply saying if you can, if it is within your means, make sure you get good grades, let's say a distinction if possible, or else a credit. Now, another thing that is very important is for you to apply for leadership positions within your school. So if you are still in school, you can apply for, let's say, students union president, a treasurer, or even just a committee member. Those ones are very helpful. Now, the main reason why this is helpful is because scholarship bodies, they're looking for well-rounded leaders. So I mean, you just can't have good grades without showing that you're a leader in other aspects. So you really need to kind of like spread your wings and yeah, just find yourself in leadership positions. So another tip for crafting a good application is for you to get good at telling a story in an essay format. So most of the scholarships that I know, they always want you to answer maybe three or four questions in an essay format. So the thing is, just make sure you get good at writing essays. And how can you do that? Is by writing more, and then you get to improve as you go. So the last point on crafting a good application is for you to volunteer or involve yourself in social initiatives or social or let me say community-based initiatives. These ones are also very helpful. So if you noted, most of the points that I said before this one were to do with those that are still in school. Maybe they should vie for positions in students union. They should get good grades. But now, if you already finished school and maybe you still want to apply for scholarship, this is one of the things that you may want to do. Make sure you involve yourself in community-based initiatives. For example, now we have like planting trees. We have different clubs. Just find yourself to get yourself just get yourself involved in any of these social initiatives. So yeah, that's it. So I said I'll show you an example of an essay of my essay. So this is an essay that I used when I was applying for a scholarship. So what I'll do is I'll just beam it here on the screen. You can just pause and then you can read through. So that's how I wrote my essay, and I'm sure you find that helpful. I mean, I wouldn't say you should use that, but you can use that to kind of like it should just give you an idea of how you can be able to craft your essay. So I'll just show you like so I answered three questions, but this is one of the questions that I answered. So I hope you will find this helpful. So I'll just put it here and then you can just pause and read through. Yeah, so that's it. That's an example of the essay that I wrote. Now, finally, let me talk about some of the common mistakes that people make when they are applying for scholarships or when they are looking for scholarships. Now, these ones are very important. You should make sure you shouldn't miss this. So, the first mistake that people do is they apply when they are not eligible. And then they say, oh, I apply for scholarships, but I'm not taken. Now, it is very important that when you're applying, make sure that you tick most of the requirements. I would say tick all requirements and then apply. But if you are missing one requirement, let me just give an example. They're saying they're looking for people that are within the age range of, let's say, 20 to 35, and then maybe you are 18 or you are 36, 37. You are applying for that scholarship, the chances are close to none. Maybe they may consider you, maybe a miracle may happen, but to be honest, you're kind of like already outside the bracket and then you're still applying. So make sure that you're applying only if you know that you're eligible. Because if you're applying for something that you're not eligible for, so I mean, the chances are close to zero, right? So that's the first mistake that you should avoid. The second mistake that you should avoid is not following instructions. So I realize that most of the times people just want to apply in whatever format they want to without even following the instructions. Now, I mean, if you apply in your own way, not the way that they wanted to, I mean, you are sure that they won't give you a space. So make sure that you follow instructions. So another mistake that people make, and this is for most of us, I'm a culprit for this one as well, is that we start the application late. For example, they say we'll close on the 5th of December. Then you start the application on the 3rd of December. You only have 2 days, but you want someone to proofread. You want someone to check your work. I mean, you really need to give yourself time. You need to give yourself time. Let's say maybe a month of application, a month of you writing essays, you finding someone to proofread. I mean, going through your work. So you really need to give yourself proper, ample time. So another mistake that people make, which you should also avoid, is in line with what I just said, is not proofreading your work. You just do it yourself. You don't even find a friend. You just do it yourself and be like, you know what? Who cares? I'll just send it. I mean, you might as well find a friend and then send it to them and say, oh, can you read my work? But sometimes people don't want other people to know that they're applying for school. I mean, I just want people to know that I've been given a scholarship. You know, you can. I know people, but I mean, just find someone to read your work, my friend. All right, yeah. So the last mistake that people make is just reusing the very same essays. Now, you wrote an essay, you applied for 5 scholarships, you are not given a scholarship, but you're using the same one in the 60th application. I mean, you might as well maybe change or write another one from the onset. So yeah, that's it, guys. So that's the end of the video, and I hope you have found this video helpful. I thought I'll just cover things to do with the scholarship. I know this is a long video, and thanks if you have watched reaching this far. So if you have reached this far, you might as well like, comment, subscribe, and share with someone who you think may benefit from this video. Thank you very much for watching this video. I do appreciate. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.